Yeah, today's discussion is organized by Seekamentor. Seekamentor is a learning and mentorship platform that caters to graduates and working professionals and helps them upskill and take the next step in their careers. If you've not heard about us before, you could just search our name on LinkedIn and you can follow our page there. We conduct a lot of such sessions, cohorts, one-on-one mentorship, etc. And you can reach out to us in case of any requirements or any help you need with respect to your careers. I will be the moderator and host for today. My name is Sahil. I am a senior PM at Microsoft and an alumnus of IIM Bangalore, batch of 17-19. Along with me, I have three of my friends, Raushan, Tamal, and Monica.
First of all, thanks for having us here on this platform. So just a brief introduction about me. I am Raushan Sinha. I'm currently a senior PM at Amazon. As part of my charter, I look after India and all the emerging countries where Amazon has been to, and I look after transportation and logistics related products for them, focusing on planning, compliance, optimization, all of that. As a background, I am from an engineering background before I did my MBA. So I started as an engineer, worked for 4 years within a manufacturing plant, and then I moved to do my MBA. And I'm a graduate from 2017-19 batch. Yeah, that's about me. Thank you.
Yeah, Monica, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon to you all. So, my name is Monica Singh. I have done my bachelor's from UPTech Government College, and after that, I joined Adobe as a software engineer. I stayed there for 4 years when I started to learn more about product management, and that kind of started to gauge a lot of interest from me. And that's when I decided that I'll pursue a little bit of business just to understand the context a little more deeper, learn the subject in depth. And I pursued my MBA from IIM Lucknow and got transitioned into product in Adobe first, and then moved my domain from Adobe to Dell and now to VMware. In my career, I was started with a very B2C setup, which is with Adobe. Then I moved into core B2B, which is with Dell. And now I'm working in a VMware, which is a B2B2C kind of setup. And throughout this while, I have learned a lot of aspects of product management from various angles. And it's been a tremendous journey. It always keeps me on the thrill of learning more, knowing more, and keeps the interest in. So I'm happy and I'm so excited to meet you all guys and share my interest with you and learn more from your backgrounds.
Hey everyone, I'm Tamal. I've started out as an engineer and did my grind in TCS work for 2.5 years as a software developer. Then joined IIM Bangalore, and I'm similar to Raushan. I'm Raushan's batchmate and Sahil's as well. So I completed my MBA from IIM Bangalore from 2017 to 19. And from my campus, I got placed in Flipkart as a product manager, where I worked for around 3.5 years. And then I've moved to Netherlands, currently working in Amsterdam with Mollie, who is a payment service gateway provider and one of the larger ones in Europe. And overall, in this last 4 years, my experience in product has been in the domain of risk, fraud, and security, which is basically looking to consumer security, seller, buyer, merchant security, this kind of domain, and with a focus on AIML problem statements.
Great. Thank you, Tamal. And it's really interesting to see. I think this was coincidental. I didn't plan it this way, but you all three of you have a very unique background coming into product management, including me, myself as well. You coming in from software development, MBA, and then entering straight from campus. Raushan moved to a different role after which he transitioned, and Monica has been in around product development for a long time. So she's seen from both ends, from development side as well as from now managing products. And I myself am from a non-tech background. I was a mechanical engineer earlier, worked in data analytics and consulting for around 2.5 years before I did my MBA. Didn't intern at a product company as well, but eventually fate had it that I entered into product management through my lateral placement. So here I am. Great to see the diversity. I'll start off with some of the personal journey questions that we have. The first one is for Raushan. So Raushan, you've worn multiple hats before, like I know that you worked with Reliance before your MBA in the plant, managing plant and reliability, etc. And from that, you transitioned. You took up your MBA. You transitioned into a program management role, and then you've moved to a product management role at Amazon. So wanted to know that what attracted you to the product management industry, and how was this entire transition for you?
Yeah, great question. I think it has been quite an interesting journey. So after my engineering, I went to Reliance. I was working as a plant maintenance engineer. Then I moved into reliability, plant commissioning, etc. And that's where I was working in plants which were commissioned at that point. So basically, they were built from scratch up. Then I started thinking that, hey, who decides that these are the plants or the manufacturing units that needs to be set up? And that's where my quest for an MBA education started. I wanted to have a formal education where I can get to know, hey, these are the different business functions and how they operate and correlate with each other and take such a large decision. So that's where I went into MBA. After MBA, I decided, hey, that was my vision to get into something where I can take those high level calls. So I started as a program manager. I didn't prepare for product management at that point because I didn't have much of an idea when I was getting into summer internship probably. So that's where I started. So I started like an end user of some of those products, right? And that's where again my like nature kicked in. Like, what is the problem? Who is building it? I think I'm also interested in it. I'm using it, so probably I'm more closer to the end customer who is going to get impacted. And then I got to know about the nature of the work. That hey, we are going to work on long-term visions, right? And that's where my interest keep on building in. And then I researched for this product role, and that's how my journey came. Like it's from like a plant maintenance engineer to a program manager and eventually into product management. So now I have been in this space for almost 1.5 years, and I'm truly enjoying it. So yeah, that's about my journey. And since I was in a non-tech background, I wanted to get into something where I don't go into hardcore technical stuff. And that's where I decided, and I explored multiple options which were available to me at that point. Then I figured out, hey, I think non-tech product manager is something where my interest lies, and I need to start building skills to get into that. So that's my journey. Yeah.
Got it. I think we'll come more on how you prepared, etc. later during the session. But I'll move on to the next question, which is to Monica. Is that Monica? You just you told me that you've spent almost 9+ years now working with products, right? Developing products earlier and now managing them. So you've worked across a lot of established names like Adobe, Dell, VMware, which inherently had very defined product roles. What changes have you seen in the role over the years, right? And what changes do you expect coming into the role, into this product management role in the near future as well?
Yeah, I think this is an amazing question, right? And this is something we, as product managers for our personal growth as well, we stay on lookout for. So when I started my career in 2013, right? So that was a time when PM as a role was developing a lot. And I was in that fortunate category where I have product managers directly working with, because a lot of people at that point in time don't have a definite product managers. They don't have that role in the organizations. But since I knew that role and I started to connect myself very well with that role, that this is where I want to be. I want to stay close to customers. I definitely like coding, but that's where I see my interest even more, right? I want to stay close to customer. I want to stay close to business strategy and see how we can define the vision for the product. So that was the role at that point in time. And you have a lot of Jiras to write for. You have a lot of conferences to maintain, which is still the case. Right, but it was very kind of data driven industry in B2C. So data is your way to go, data is your way to make the decisions, right? When I joined Dell, the role was same, but I was very much towards the business side, right? So I was mainly looking towards the business angle, how we really want to partner with more clients, how we want to have better integrated solutions, how we can really collaborate with Amazon, how we can collaborate with Microsoft, make the solution even more robust and more useful for the customers, right? So that's a small transition that I have seen. Now, when I'm working with VMware, I'm working as a mobile product manager. So I have been managing a suite of application for their AirWatch security applications, right? So it's like a very different journey from where we were before. It's like you have a set of consumers, you have a set of users. So somebody is going to pay for the application, somebody is going to use for the application. You have to maintain the experience, you have to maintain the revenues, and you have to define the strategy, keeping in mind that what's going to be the growth for your customer. The one thing which is consistent in my career is about the growth PM, right? I know this term has recently come into the market, but eventually the underlying principle is same. I was working with kind of mature products, and coming in between of the mature product, I have to define that what is the next rolling pin for them, what is the needle mover that you have to look out for, and where do you want to see these products growing, right? So that's where what I'm also seeing as a changing trend, and it's going to be even more frequent in coming days, is this strategy, right? So not very often, and not every PM is the fortunate enough to really kickstart a product right from scratch. And since we already have so many products in the market, we tend to have this kind of growth PM kind of roles, data PM, growth PM, where you have established product and you have to look that product from a different angle, try to identify what could be the next strategy. Those strategy could come from collaboration, from more acquisition point of view, more adoption point of view. You are creating a new category or whatnot, right? So PM role is definitely here to stay, right? It's going to make sure that you have a lot of products even going forward. The kind of maturity in the product I have seen has happened over the years, right? So you have started from a very basic definition, and now you're growing to a position where your PM leaders are actually becoming the business leaders.
Yeah, I think one point which you mentioned, right, Monica, that the PM role is definitely here to stay. I think it has transitioned quite a bit in the last decade, even so beforehand. So definitely, I think I was reading this stat yesterday itself where someone mentioned that there are nearly 35,000 open PM jobs available in the country, and it talks about how much PM has become centric to all industries. And that is where my question next to Tamal goes, is that as I mentioned, right, like mostly almost all industries today employ PMs, right? It might be food and beverage, e-commerce, services industries, any other kinds of startups that come up, right? So it's a very wide array of industries where PMs definitely get employed. And Tamal, you have sort of, earlier you were in Flipkart for a few years in the e-commerce platform, and now you've transitioned into a fintech payments company. Although working in the security and fraud detection team, I just want to know, how has this switch in industry been for you, and how easy is it for PMs to switch industries in their career journey?
Sure. So I'll give you a very MBA answer to this, Sahil, right? Because for me, I break it down into four parameters, right? So for me, any transition when you are moving from company to company, it's basically, you're basically moving four things. At least that's how I was seeing it, right? One thing you can change is basically your role, right? Which can be like from a PM to an SPM, from for like Raushan, from program to product, can be a role change, right? Second is you're changing a company. Right. For me, the third point was changing my domain itself, right, from e-commerce to payments. And the fourth thing is changing of geography. Right. Now, the thing is that the more variables that you add here, right, as in the more number of things you are changing when you are moving job to job, right, the more difficult it is to make that transition, right? Right. You have to be prepared that if you're changing all of these four parameters together, you have to move something else. Your wait period would be longer, the number of options that you need to go through would be longer, right? So for me, out of these four parameters, I knew that I was moving geography, right? So that is one parameter I cannot change, right? So, and I was moving domain, right? I was moving from e-commerce to fintech. So, right. So I had to reduce the other parameters while doing my job search or my role search, right? Which is basically, I'd be happy to move from a PM to PM role instead of trying to go from a PM to an SPM in a different country, for example, right? Let's make that variable simpler. And also let's look into roles that are directly in the job profile that I'm doing currently, right? Which is like moving from fraud to fraud detection, right? Not move my domain, like not try to go from back end to front end completely when you are doing it. So that's the two parameters I try to reduce, while knowing that the other parameters are going to do. For others on the call as well, whenever you're moving such a career change, break it down into these 4 parameters and try to see how many of you you are ready to compromise, and which are the ones that you are very stern about moving, and that would make your transitions easy to think about, right? And the more number of variables that you add to this, the more you have to be prepared for a longer waiting time, and you have to be prepared to go through more options before you finally end up with the job that you are looking for.
Right. It's a very unique take on how you different levers you sort of move around to sort of progress in your career. And somehow I think subconsciously we do this, but since you've laid this out, right, it becomes more apparent. Great. I have one open question before we pause for questions from the audience. And this question was, who do you think? People ask both the sides, right? But I'll probably go with the simpler side. Is who do you think should pursue a career in product management, and what are the most critical skill sets you need to get into it? So I don't know, any one of you, if you would want to just take this question up, maybe Tamal, if you can start, and if anyone else has any points to add.
Yeah, for me, Sahil, the people who would be looking for product management roles, you can again break it down probably into 2 or 3 parameters. One is that, again, you don't need to be somebody who is an expert in tech, right? But you need to be somebody who has an interest in the domain of technology, right? And that these are widely different things. Like when you open an app, how do you approach that? Have you try to find that okay, yeah, there's a problem here, I could have solved it better, and why is Swiggy not doing this, why is Flipkart not doing that? Do you take a general interest in tech and try to understand, okay, if they try to do this, what are the other problems that they can face? For example, like let's say Amazon, like Amazon can, for example, do why is Amazon not asking everybody when do you want the product to be delivered, right? You will think like, yeah, as a customer I really need that feature, but you look at it from a supply chain perspective, and again, Raushan is the supply chain sort of expert here, right? And you realize that what kind of chaos it creates when you ask every customer when do you want the product to be delivered. Everybody will work it on a weekend, I know, at 12 o'clock, right? So that is a chaotic situation, right? So this knack for technology is one, which is, again, you don't need to understand anything of technology, but you need to be interested in this domain of where this world is going towards, right? That is one. Secondly is people who are ready to take the blame is a very important feature for product management, because product managers do a job that is very difficult to explain. We are the butt of so many memes on LinkedIn, like what does a product manager do in a day is it's like a question that keeps on getting asked everywhere. But the thing is that your job when you are doing it will be so, you'll be so engrossed to it that it will be very difficult to explain it to people. But when something breaks, right, or when something does not work out correctly, you'll be the first person will be asked to answer it, what is going wrong, right? So somebody is open to handle that kind of stakeholder management, handling blame, being at the forefront, but not taking, being taking up ownership, but not being, the main person who is representing everything. It's everybody's team, but you are the one who is going to be in the forefront of this. These are 2 things I believe are critical for a product management skill set, right? So from a psychological and behavioral and temperamental perspective.
Got it. Yeah. Monica, would you want to add something to this list?
Yeah, I think I completely concur with Tamal what he mentioned, right, in terms of taking the ownership, in terms of being the forefront of the stuff, right? So that is definitely needed. You need to understand the technology, you need to have interest in the role, right? At the same time, if you have any possibility in your own organization or through channels like Seekamentor to explore this role in close and try to see what this role is, and make sure you make a good bet with this role, right? So product management role, if you have not seen it closely, is a difficult role to just comprehend what these guys are doing, how they're doing, and how their day looks like, and what would I be doing if I am a PM. So these kind of platforms, and a lot of organizations have kind of mentorship programs or internal shadow programs. So I would suggest just take those programs, look at this role very clearly, right? Because the kind of skills that you need to be a good PM, like clarity of thinking, staying on top of things, be a prompt, right? And the kind of things that Amazon follows, right? Do fast, fail fast kind of a stuff. So you have to have that thinking inbuilt in you, right? And that could be done via learning as well. I'm not saying it has to be something you should be born with. All these platforms can really teach you. It's like how you make your thinking grow in a particular direction. So just look at this role very closely via these platforms or via your internal organization perspective, and take a bet, right? It's again, just learn fast, do fast, and decide fast kind of stuff.
Right. I think what you mentioned, right, there is a lot of non-clarity around this role. I remember this quote again that I read where someone said that product management is the most misunderstood yet rewarding role in today's times. So I do agree. There's a lot of confusion around this role. There is a lot of variations even within the role once people get into it. So yeah, no, I completely agree to that.